right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome back to the Trial and Error podcast. I'm Bryon. A
Fearless here.
marketing consultant, content nerd, all the other stuff. Adding some search engine optimization a little bit to my bag. Basically, anything that gets you visible online is what I'm focused on. And I've been pretty active this last month or so, and so it's always been a good thing. Um, but it does lead into our conversation. I continue on the conversation that we started last week. So, Fearless, you have anything to introduce yourself?
Nope. What's up?
All
What's
right.
up?
So this week we're still following up on the business of starting over. We got about halfway through the conversation, and so I think we'll pick it up. Yeah, we'll take a small step backwards, but you'll get to where I'm at. Um, so we're going to talk about when loyalty kind of becomes a self betrayal, and what we talked about previously is how people confuse loyalty with kind of an endurance thing. Um,
Hmm.
it thinks that they feel strong for being loyal to this thing, um, and they think they see walking away from something that doesn't serve them as accepting a defeat on some level. And
Right.
ultimately, what we're talking about is how loyalty becomes kind of betrayal of what you actually need when you're staying attached to something that doesn't serve you. And I
Right.
think that's kind of where we left it.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
so
No, I kind of wanted to touch back on that
okay,
because I thought it was pretty. I love the idea of it
hmm
in general, and because all of us have been loyal to somebody else and have betrayed ourselves in the midst of doing that.
hmm
And you can ask yourself, why are you like? But I think that we all understand and we know what that is, why that is, right? There are certain people that indubitably have they're too strong for us.
hmm
You know what I'm saying? I think that we all have somebody that's like that. Funny enough, man, a buddy of mine once told me after when we were young, he said, man, everybody's a hoe for somebody else. You know what I'm saying? They may not hold for you, but they will do it for somebody else.
right,
And that's always stuck with me. That although I may not be able to get somebody to do something, somebody else can get this person to do all kinds of different stuff.
right,
And you will betray yourself, you know what I'm saying, by participating in being loyal to somebody else. So it's like being in a relationship with somebody that, I thought that we were monogamous. They come to find out your partner's polyamorous.
hmm
You know, it's like, oh wow, like I wish you would have told me you were into this beforehand. We could have done it together, or I'm out. You,
right.
you know what I'm saying?
Well, and I think the thing is, when we talk about loyalty, it's kind of a dual sacrifice, right?
It
If we're
is.
both being loyal, then we're both sacrificing a thing, right? We're both sacrificing something that we want or a piece of, I don't want to say happiness. I don't like to frame it like where it's all or nothing, but we've made the conscious decision that we are pursuing this thing to the exclusion of other things, right? And
Hmm.
so by that loyalty, I am giving you my time, you're providing your time to the exclusion of other ways that we can be spending our time or investing our resources and things along those lines.
Yeah.
And I think oftentimes what happens is it I'm gonna have to reframe this immediately after I say this. Um but we're not getting a proportionate return. And um I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I've been, going coming up on 20 years of my at wedding anniversaries this year for 20 years. One of the things about a long-term relationship is it's not always going to be 50-50. It's not always going to be that even transition. Sometimes it's going to be 60-40, sometimes it's going to be 70-30, but you're always getting something back. I think what happens is it becomes this law of diminishing returns where your relationship is no longer affording you or providing you something, and it's no longer worth what you're investing in it. And I think that's kind of where we go with it. And You feel like, okay, I got to stick this thing out, stick this thing out, stick this thing out. But I'm not getting anything out of it. And I don't need proportional returns. I'm not talking about I'm not getting the same amount of money. I'm talking about the same feeling, the same joy, the same happiness, the same peace of mind. Um, if I'm not getting that in return, then I need to reevaluate my investment. And a lot of times we don't do that. We stay with a job because we know everybody there and we know where our desk is and it's comfortable. It's a comfortable environment. Even though the ship on that job pouring into you has sailed a long time ago.
Right, like you can barely afford to pay your rent. If your partner died, you wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah.
You have to go stay with somebody else, type of stuff. Now I get that.
Well, and I ran into it when I was doing work with the state. Anybody that knows me knows my passion was always working with kids and families, right? And I sacrificed a lot to maintain that role because when you work with kids and families and do case management, it is a vow of poverty that you are taking. It's an oath of poverty that you have decided that you are going to enforce upon yourself. I can tell you, even as a director in one of these human services organizations about 10 years ago, even as a director, a step away or move from the executive seat, multiple staff reporting to me, people that had masters and some were pre-doctoral candidates, right? Sitting there meeting with state senators, traveling all over the state.
Like
Huh?
Cheyenne Bryan would say, doctorial.
Yeah. I'm doing all the stuff that she pretends to do. I was doing all that stuff, managing staff and all the other stuff. My pay topped out at $60,000 a year. And I knew people that were doing a hell of a lot less than me in things that I knew how to do that were making a lot more than me, but I was in it for the kids and in it for my staff.
Mm,
And so that was the trade-off that I was willing to make back then. Um, I'm not getting paid the most and it's not the most it's kind of a thankless job at times, but
yeah,
I was getting something out of it emotionally. And I think typically um sometime and when you no longer receiving the thing, it's time to move on. You know,
right.
you stop feeding your dog long enough, eventually they're going to stop showing up.
Mm, right.
So, but yeah, that I think that's the concept, right? Like we're talking about, like when something no longer serves you, and it can be business, it can be jobs, creative projects, even a community or even a family, leaving your actual biological family.
Yeah,
Um, Old goals. A lot of times we're trying to define ourselves by a previous version of ourselves, as opposed to who we currently are.
hmm, or who we're trying to become.
Right. And part of growth is that change part of it, embracing the new version of you and letting go of the old version without feeling guilt. And a lot of people can't do that. It's not easy for
I,
most people.
I mean, again, man, I don't know if it's that we can't. I think it's that we won't. And again, kind of based piggyback writing off what you said because of these things over here, we're not going to
Mhm,
over there because you're sacrificing something. You have to leave something behind in order to pick up something new.
mhm.
And a lot of us just want to keep carrying that shit with us. So now, yeah, I get it.
Well, we're trading comfort for growth. And
Yeah,
sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes it's something that's fine and in alignment with you. But when you start feeling like you want to grow and all you have to do is sacrifice some of the comfort, you have to decide which is more important to you: the growth path you're on or the comfort you're experiencing. Because growth is uncomfortable. Growing pains are a real thing. Kids suffer them all the time. Why do you think
yeah.
adults think that they're exempt from it, and they're not? Maybe that's where the midlife crisis comes from.
Kind of like peer pressure and all that stuff. People think that, yeah, as soon as I leave high school, that shit's done. No, it's not.
Hmm.
You, and the gossiping and the people acting like fucking children. It's like, oh no, when I get to a certain age, it's gonna stop. No, it's not.
Hmm.
No, it will
Well,
not.
I had a conversation with a friend of mine who is in proximity with a lot of people that are multi millionaires and stuff like that. And he's like, one of the misconceptions that people make is If they're not a charitable person, that when they get a bunch of money, they're instantly going to become a charitable person. They're going to start donating to all these causes and all this other stuff. All I got to do is hit the lottery and I'm going to donate to all these charities and everything. But they're not already doing it, right? Like they're not doing it. They haven't ingrained it into their personal lives.
Right.
Um, and oftentimes money just turns you more into who you really are.
Who you
And so,
already are.
so if you're already not a generous person, if you're not
You
already a
won't be.
charitable person,
You won't be with that either.
you won't be. And that's why a lot of times when nonprofits, most of the times nonprofits are kind of funded when they do the kind of the what is the bell curve or the triangle or whatever, the pyramid. A lot of times the poorest people are the ones that give most freely. They'll give a bigger percent of what they bring into the house because they don't have a lot, but they'll share it. As opposed to people that, as they start getting up there, if they weren't charitable before, they're not going to all of a sudden be this charitable person now.
Right. Which makes sense though. And I was always talking about that too. When I was broken, I didn't have shit. I would still go to the bookstore and go buy up
Hmm.
all kinds of books. You know what I'm saying? Sit in my car and read.
Right.
Then when I started making, 10, 15, $20,000 a month, guess what? I just bought more books. You know what I'm saying? And more book stands to go with it. So literally I always say that money in certain situations don't they don't make you something new. It
Hmm.
reveals who you already were.
Right. And I think people have this fantasy of the lottery turning them into a better person as opposed to investing the time and being a better person now so that if you ever do hit the lottery or if you ever do get that job you're aiming at, you can be a better version of yourself once you attain it because
Yeah,
that attaining that thing isn't going to make you a better person. Getting more money isn't going to make you this financial discipline savant. You're still going to
right.
be the same you except with more money to burn. So, um Chris says my challenge is routine oriented. I'm routine oriented and get frustrated when my routine gets altered. I get
Yeah,
that. I experience that too. And sometimes it's leaning into how, making making an agreement with yourself. How uncomfortable am I willing to get with this? And
yeah.
measuring what you do based on that. I win the lottery. I'm telling nobody, even those closest to me. So nothing. Right. Listen, I told my wife.
Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I told my wife. I was kind of joking, but I'm like, if I hit the Powerball, I'm showing up to that conference like Rey Mysterio in a mask, El Santo mask,
Yeah.
luchador mask, and a suit on.
Or you say Nacho, like Nacho Libre.
Right. You know, I'm not playing, and you'll like what happened to Bryan? I don't know, man. He just disappeared. He hit the lottery. I saw him on TV the other day. It looked like him at least.
Yeah,
We never heard from him again.
he left all of his shit in that house. They
Mhm.
they just left.
It's disappeared.
And they just disappeared. I was talking to my
Did anybody
neighbors.
hit
I
that
was
Powerball? Yeah.
I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
Florida.
Yeah.
It's always
Florida.
Florida, bro. So go. Yeah.
Somebody hit it.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
A couple billion or a billion and change.
Okay.
So, but yeah. Okay. So you're talking to your neighbor.
Yeah, and they were telling me um that he's from like this small town, and I'm like, oh man, that's kind of cool. And I was just kind of thinking like going to like somewhere like Texas where it doesn't rain, it doesn't snow,
Hmm.
and like yeah, one of them small little towns, and just go ride my bike, ride my motorcycle, just you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just yeah, that's
Well,
what I'm
and
doing.
I'm of the mind because you found the riding your bike and stuff as the thing, in addition to reading.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people never find the thing. They never they never find their thing. They never find that thing that gives to them without them feeling like it's taking from them. You
Mm.
know. And I'm talking to somebody that's kind of mentoring me in some other business stuff, and he's like, you got to find the thing that you do that you like to do. And I'm like, well, I can do so much. He's like, you got to find it. It's locking in and doing that. You can still do the other stuff, but this has got to be your thing. And I think finding your thing crosses over a lot. Like finding your thing that relaxes you and gives you peace. Finding the thing that generates money for you. Finding the thing that just brings you happiness just because it's around. Um,
Right.
and a lot of times, I don't think people ever truly find their thing, and their life is just a series of things looking for the thing. I don't know. I don't want to get too metaphysical with that, but so we talked about old goals. We both talked about letting go of old goals, embracing new ones. Um, I think the big question is, people wonder, what is this turning? I think the question is, this thing I'm enduring that's draining me, that's pulling, that's not giving equally to me. What is it turning me into?
Hmm. And do I like the person that's turning me into?
Yeah. Have you ever met a person that has completely been jaded by their job and hardened?
Or relationships? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is one of the
Probably
hard.
more relationships than jobs.
I've seen both, and they're both equally hard because a lot of times people will define themselves by their job and what they go do, and it in their mind, this person becomes inextricably them, who they are, and this job has turned them into a person they don't like. Which is a real thing. Like the job or the relationships turns them into a version of themselves they don't like, but they're not able to see that
Hmm.
or make the linkage and the correlation, because it would mean that this thing that means so much to them, they would have to move on from it. We've all experienced it for better or worse, where something has shaped you into something that you don't like a little bit.
Hmm.
And you have to kind of pull back and say, ooh. So, all right. You want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, I don't want to say.
Mm. So I think the big thing is let's reorient after the old way stops working.
That's
Um,
why.
um,
Yeah,
and
bananas too.
a lot of this is
Come on.
looking at how do you rebuild in order to regain your sense of
Dad, I'll eat
direction,
apples right now.
and what that means asking of yourself, evaluating situations and saying, is this fundamental understanding of something still true? Which
Hmm.
is probably the biggest one. I can spend a lot of time talking about that one, so I can circle back to that. Um, what no longer fits in my life, and what am I trying to protect? We'll start with those three. Um, so when we look at this thing, is this thing still true? One of the things they told my workers is, especially when you're in the transformative business, you're working with kids and families and things along those lines. When you hit on somebody's deeply ingrained, deeply held core belief, their central worldview, and you turn it upside down or even introduce some doubt into it, you are going to see uncontrollable behaviors. It's this primal thing that you can tap into, and get to be really careful. More times than not, in my shelter environment, when kids realized that their worldview wasn't necessarily true or wasn't true for the version of themselves they wanted to be,
Hmm.
that's when we saw the explosion in out of control behaviors. And it was not logical. We'd see, I had a kid trying to yank his stitches out of his gums because he got his teeth pulled out. Like it was bad. Um, and a lot of it was this weird reaction to the world I imagined or the world I lived in before isn't the world that exists for me right now. Um,
Hmm.
we saw it with parents and things like that. That's when we saw the wildest crash outs, and it was a natural part of it. And so I'd have to prepare my staff for it and say, okay, so this kid's about to turn the corner, be prepared. And
Man.
so
And I mean, how often did that happen?
if we had a kid long enough and they were actually invested in hey, I need to get my life together and figure out something new. I can't go back to what I was doing. It would happen almost every single time, but just take a different form.
Hmm.
Some kids would, start trying to force themselves to revert back to their old way of behaving. Some
Hmm.
kids would just have a big, huge emotional break things and scream and yell, crash
Kind
out.
of, kind of like the last stand
Mm-hmm.
before that change starts to take root.
Yeah, the extinction burst, like when you're on a diet and all of a sudden, you're about to your body's getting acclimated to the new way that you're eating food and stuff like that, and then you have that one weekend where you just completely binge and crash out and eat all the stuff you're not supposed to because your brain is trying to bring yourself back to the normal baseline that you were operating at
Mhm.
previously, and so it makes it worse than it actually would be, and that's what we
Yeah.
would see. So, but yeah, that's the thing. That's the transformative work. That's why it's dangerous when I tell people, it's dangerous. Cheyenne Bryant, when we were talking about her last week or a couple weeks ago, that's what she was doing was inherently dangerous because she's playing around without qualifications and without credibility, trying to psychoanalyze people or be somebody's therapist or whatever without the appropriate training or credentials or layers of accountability. You could absolutely turn somebody's life upside down and not be equipped to handle said thing. That's why a lot of times in my shelters we worked really close with therapists and psychiatrists and stuff because we had to communicate because it's like, okay, this is what we saw. How do we prepare for this and how do we do it with minimum damage long term?
Yeah, right. No, I totally get that. I mean, even with my qualifications or whatever, man, I mean, I tell people off top, I am a life coach, and I don't even like calling myself that. I
Hmm.
just say philosopher. And now, after all these years, I actually decided to go back to school and this and the other, but I would never claim to be something that I wasn't.
Right.
The word philosopher or philosophy just means a person who loves wisdom, who loves knowledge. That is it.
Yeah.
Anybody can say that they have a certain philosophy. Anybody can call themselves a philosopher.
Hmm.
Now, I wouldn't say that I'm a philosopher of therapy or this and that. I would never use that terminology. Number
Right.
one, because it's illegal
Yeah.
here in Nebraska to do that. I don't know about every other state, but like credentially wise, I'm what's called a therapeutic coach because Nebraska has this thing where you can't call yourself therapeutic anything
Right.
without a license. So although that's what I am, I can't call myself that.
Right.
You know? Not because that's not who I am or what I am, but because the law in Nebraska says I cannot. So
Right.
guess what? I'm not doing it.
Well, and imagine so and we're kind of talking about Cheyenne Bryant, but it is what it is. Imagine one day, you develop this insane fascination with brain science and the physical function of the brain, and all the lobes and the temporal lobe and this lobe and that lobe and how they interact with one another, now they engage, and the shape of it and all this other stuff. You've spent hours poring over all the text work and all this stuff that brain surgeons look at, right?
Right.
um, are you ready to go operate on somebody's brain?
Hmm. Not even a little bit.
Cheyenne Bryan is. And it's just as dangerous. Like you can open up Pandora when you start philosophizing to people and stuff. You can easily open up Pandora's box without any of the tools to close it and leave that person in total shambles,
Right.
uh, without being equipped to do it. I saw was this thing on 60 Minutes the other night where they had a bunch of veterans who were suffering from PTSD, and they went out and did psychedelics. Like there was this clinic, I think it was over in another country they had to go to, but it was a psychedelic clinic and it was kind of set up to help people with PTSD or whatnot. And they went over there and they did the whatever the dosage is, whatever the prescription is, and things along those lines. It wasn't necessarily a doctor; it was a professional prescribing it or initiating it. Long story short, the reality was most of them were helped, but one person literally had to go back on all their meds, and it was a very, very bad experience for them, and they had to actually go back when they got stateside and seek professional help because it works for this group of people doesn't mean it's going to work for this individual. And that's what happened. And so that's why it's dangerous to invest in some of the quackery or the people with dubious credentials, because there's no layer of accountability for that.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't even talking bad about the clinics, because he's like, it helps people, but just for me, it opened up more doors
It did.
that I didn't want to open.
Right, correct. I mean, that makes sense. Yeah. I remember I was reading Will Smith's book, and he had talked about doing the same thing. That the first time he took or participated in the ritual of DMT,
Yep.
he said it was like every time he's done it, it's been a different experience
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. And so, like, yeah. And he said that it's helped him with a lot of different things. And obviously not putting his hands on people, but
Yeah.
I mean, but that's what he said. So
It is what it is. Everybody's mile is going to vary, and that's why we talk about the why people have the certification, so that they can deal with the outliers, the people this doesn't work for.
yeah,
You know, and so I think maybe that's the bigger piece of it. And so, yeah, I know we don't want to revisit the entire Cheyenne Bryan conversation that we were having, but that's why professionals were up in arms about it, because they're like,
and then no, they still are.
yeah, she could be doing real harm to people and not fully aware of the harm she's doing, and not being aware of what is it? Not being aware of, she could start the fire but not know how to put it out. Not be equipped to
Yeah.
put the thing out.
So I was when I was in school for life coaching. One of the things that we were taught was hypnosis,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one of the certifications you will get is certified hypnotherapy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I got it and I was telling people about it, they were like, can you do this and the other? And I'm like, yeah, but here's the thing, I haven't done it enough. That I have not done it enough that I feel comfortable
Right.
doing it with anybody. On myself is one thing.
Right.
Someone else, that's something different. Because I know and I've seen that a person can open up some shit in you
Mm-hmm.
and not know how to put that shit back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's just like walking into a person's house and leaving their door wide open
Right.
for things to come in and things to get out that probably shouldn't be outside.
Yeah. And I think that's the
And that
dangerous
thing
part.
shouldn't be inside. So hell yeah.
You
So
know,
when people ask me, I'm like, I know how to do it. I'm good though.
yeah.
I don't trust myself to. Again, I'm not experienced enough to do that with a clear conscience.
Right.
I'm not.
It's like, back in the days, I used to work on cars. I hate working on cars. It's the reason why I don't do it now. I hate working on cars. There are so many other things I'd rather do besides working on cars. But I had to, because I was poor, and my mom knew a mechanic that could help me out with stuff. And so it's like, can I change somebody's timing chain or timing belt? Yes. Have I done it before? Yes. Will I do it? Absolutely not. It's been 20 years. And it's the concept of the monkey. You can put a monkey under the hood of your car and give him a chainsaw. He's going to do something. He's going to do something under there.
Not necessarily beneficial to you.
Not
But he'll
necessarily.
do something.
It may not help you at all, but he's going to get under there and do something. If you want a working example of that, look at the White House. Got a monkey with the chainsaw running around right now. He's doing something. He's doing stuff. Is it beneficial to us? So
I think it all depends on. I think that depends on who you ask.
on the us.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, because one person might say, well, is he benefiting us? Well, if you're a Democrat, you're like, yeah, he's he's doing something for us. Because the next time a Republican gets into that office
Mm-hmm.
will be a very long time.
Well, and I think if
Very long time.
like if you're into hedge funds and stuff like that, and you're an investor, yeah, it may be great for you. It may be wonderful. Like things may be great. Um, but depending on where you work or where you're aligned with, if you work at if you've been a government employee your entire life, it's been disastrous. And so I think it's just a matter of proportion. But the other side is, again, monkey with the chainsaw. They're gonna get in there and do something. You give a toddler a pistol, he's gonna do something. And so I think that's where that breaking point is. So
Right.
what am I trying to protect? What am I trying to become? What do I want my life to feel like now? These are all kind of the considerations, the things you ask yourself when you're reorienting that change and navigating through it.
Right, but I mean, like how you put that, that sometimes people rush into the next thing fast because they do not want to sit in uncertainty.
Yes.
But transition needs space.
Mhm.
It needs time. Um, you do not need to be perfect with a new plan immediately.
Mhm.
You need strong enough clarity to make the next honest step.
Yep.
And again, if it works for you, great. If it doesn't, I mean, for me, I think Brian to tell you, like when I fail quickly.
Mhm.
I like to jump in and fuck shit up. Right? I can't say that other people feel the same way, and I don't blame you. For me, I like to get in and fuck up as quickly as possible.
And I think the question is, because I want to go back to this sitting in uncertainty, because I think that jams a lot of people up. They want to change the thing. They know they need to change the thing. Their mind is screaming this thing needs to change, but they're not comfortable with being uncomfortable and sitting in the uncertainty of
Right.
the transformation, a change. I'm living that. I've experienced that. What does the next version of this look like? And am I
Mhm.
comfortable dealing with the ambiguity that comes along with it? Again, we talked about it. People will um they'll deal with an incorrect narrative over an incomplete one.
Do
They'll
you wanna expound on that?
so something people will believe something that is untrue over something that is uncertain. So if you don't have enough information to make a determination on whether this thing is true or not, people will just manufacture a conclusion for themselves just so that they can feel emotionally comfortable with that thing.
Oh
And
wow.
that's kind of a human characteristic. And so that's why, there's people that if they don't understand how biology works or science, different aspects of science works, they will just make up a reason why I think this thing is this thing, as opposed to saying, hey, I don't know that.
Right.
And so people will deal with it. They'll accept that incorrect thing just because it gives a conclusion to it over something that is inconclusive. All right, let's see what Chris has to say. Working in hospitality, I use fast pace. I'm used to fast pace. Wait, okay. Working in hospital, I'm used to fast pace, constantly hard to slow down. I think everything moves fast. Right. Sometimes it's just taking that break. You have to
Um,
force yourself. You got to force yourself out of that. Sometimes you got to still yourself out of it. I had a staff that was working with me, and anytime there was an awkward silence, she would just start talking, start chattering. And I said, you cannot interview families like that.
so what did you tell her to change in that?
I said, cultivate the pause. Embrace the fact that this conversation has a big pause in it while somebody thinks. Because what happens is our reaction, even on the live stream right now, even our reaction is when there's awkward silence, you got to fill the word with air. You got to fill the air with words. That comes from me working in radio. Dead air was one of the worst things ever. And so you
Right.
always had to constantly have something to say in order to keep that little segment from going awkward or going off track. And specifically when you're doing transformative work with people or helping people fix themselves, awkward silences are the things that allow people to reflect a little bit and give you an authentic answer as opposed to one they feel like they have to throw out there.
Okay.
So,
No, makes sense. Okay, so let's move to the next one.
yep.
All right, trial and error as a rebuilding process. Um, trial and error is how you rebuild without pretending you know everything. And so here's a few things. Number one, you test out your theory.
Hmm.
Number two, you adjust it. Three, notice what gives you energy and what drains you. Stop treating every pivot like a failure. Right? Starting over becomes less about burning everything down and more about learning
Hmm.
what still belongs. Trial and error also helps you sort out what to keep, what to pause, what to release, and what to rebuild differently. Right? The lesson is not always try harder. Sometimes the lessons is stop carrying that. So I love that because again, that's one of the things I'm always talking about is if you fail at something, fail as quickly as possible.
Hmm.
And again, it's not even that most of the time, yeah, you're gonna fail, especially if you don't know what you're doing. The best way to figure out stuff is to jump in there.
Right.
You know,
Well,
you can read about it all day long. You can watch videos on it all day long. But it is not until you take out your tools and go get to work that you're gonna know whether this is gonna work or not.
and failure is part of the process. Like it's built in. The, the unsuccessful effort is part of the thing that allows you to
Right,
conditions you and teaches you what a successful effort looks like. It's very rare that you encounter a child that learns to walk without stumbling and falling down a couple of times.
right. And those stumbles and those falls also help too with the child keeping balance
Yeah, it's
and understand
necessary.
like if it's about to fall, how do I stand? How do I keep standing when I'm about to fall? So
Hmm.
every one of those failures are inherited with a learning curve
Hmm.
and a learning situation as well. So you gotta learn when to mess up
Yeah, and
because you
embrace
need
it.
to know what to do when this happens.
Well, and it's the embracing that side of it. Like I think
Right.
a lot of people don't embrace it, and it's not easy to do when something doesn't go right. It's really easy to not want to throw your arms around that thing and say, "Damn, this didn't go right," but I'm committed to learning the lesson. It's very difficult, and I'm not even going front. I'm not even gonna hold you, but embracing the attempt that wasn't successful is vital. Like you said, it's the balance. How does the baby orient themselves in space if they never experience being off balance?
hmm And so again, man, you do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
You know, you knocked it out until you can figure it out. And honestly, for the most part, it's just figuring it out. And I assure you, whatever you're doing, somebody before you has already done it.
Yeah.
So sometimes watch what they did and replicate it.
Well, and here's the thing I'll throw in there, like specifically like with the business side of things, right? We're talking about the business side. It gets harder with business and investments because you actually put money into the thing. We talked about the casino last week. Why people they'll go in with a $20 bill, put their money in the slot machine, push the button, and then lose $10, and then lose another $5, and then win $8 and think that they're winning again. Or they put in a 20, lose the entire 20 and say, well, I at least need to earn my 20 back. And so now they put in the 20 and lose 40. Well, I need to earn my 40 back. Well, then they end up winning 30 and they feel accomplished. Well, the casino done made out. They done cleared all that other money. You're never
Mhm.
getting that back. They don't know that, but in the
And
casinos and
even
banking, you don't know that.
and even when you do get that money back, the house always wins because they're gonna comp your room,
Hmm.
give you something to eat. Should just stay on, like just come on down and play. Now, if you keep winning, but you don't let them get a chance to make their money back,
Hmm.
nah, bro, you can't come in there.
Yeah, they don't like you when you. They don't
They don't
like
like
when
that.
you. They don't like when you hit the big win and then bounce.
Yeah, you just want to go home.
Like, nope, I'm done. They don't like
I'm
that
done.
at all.
Bye.
And that's a real thing. And so oftentimes, they will ban people that win and then don't stick around. They'll mark you down as, oh well, they're counting cards or whatever. And really, it's just having the discipline to say, okay, I made my money. I'm getting up out of here before I put it back in here.
Uh-huh.
But the gambling mentality does cross over into business too. There are plenty of business owners that do that every quarter. They make the same decision. They
Yeah.
throw good money after bad money, thinking that eventually they're going to get up this year, and it doesn't happen. I learned by failing. Yeah, that's where all the real lessons happen, Chris. The unsuccessful attempts. You know, showing people where you're unsuccessful and learning from it and embracing it. It actually does make people. Sometimes it makes people feel uncomfortable. Hey,
Yeah.
man, you failed this. You're gonna keep trying. Well, yeah. Well, don't you want to give up? I mean, I could, but then I waste the attempt.
Right. And here's the thing: you can fail 1,000 times. You only gotta pass it once.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
You only got to get it right one time.
One time.
But if you don't keep trying different things and adjusting your approach, you're never going to get that one thing. You're just going to sit in your failure.
That's it.
That's why I tell, remember we did that entire thing. You ain't earned the right to fail. You ain't earned the right to call yourself a failure yet. A lot of times that's what it is. You haven't really earned that right to say I'm a failure and I quit. So, all right, where are we at next? You're fearless.
All right, number 10. No, 9.
Yep. So the business side of starting over. Starting over does have a practical side. You got to think about your revenue. You got to think about your audience. You got to think about your reputation, timing, what other business obligations you have, and transition plans. So you can't just make emotional decisions and call them strategy. Even if there's a business model you want to get out of, sometimes you can't just say, I'm done. You got to put pieces in place so that you can start divesting your time and energy from it so that you're not hurting other people in the process. Especially if you got employees, you got staff and stuff like that. It can get really messy
Mhm.
really fast.
Right.
And so it's just being aware of that and understanding that that's a real thing. You gotta incrementally extract yourself from it.
I agree. Um, yeah, it's just kind of like I was talking about before. If you fail, you gotta fail as quickly as possible.
Hmm.
Like in general, like I don't care what your thing is. If you making calls, I mean, if the thing says you only need to make 10 calls or whatever, shit, make 40.
Right.
You want to get better, make as many as you can.
Right.
Like
And
man, if you need to talk to 5 people to make $5,000 perfect, you
mhm,
better go talk to 20 or 30 people. Make sure you can forget the 5,000. Let's see if we can get to 30 or 40,000 today
right.
or this week. You know what I'm saying? Come on, dude. What are you
Well,
doing?
well, and I think oftentimes um the process of failing because it feels like it's a trap, right? Like you feel like I did this, it didn't work, and I tried it again, and it didn't work, and you're not
Right.
understanding that you're incrementally getting better every single attempt.
Yeah.
You feel like you just keep messing it up, as opposed to, well, I am kind of getting better at this thing every time I try it. It wasn't as bad. The outcomes weren't
Hmm.
as negative. They listened to me for a little bit longer on the call. They asked me one question as opposed to just hanging up in my face.
Right.
And I think that that's the component of it that people don't really embrace because I mean, what I used to call is embrace how bad it sucks. It sucks for right now,
Hmm.
but I'm learning how to make it suck less.
Right.
I'm learning how to make this thing not feel as bad when I don't get it right. And
Right.
I think that's a real thing. But from a business standpoint, that's what business is. Sometimes you have to sit in the discomfort and slowly, when you built the thing, sometimes you can't just take a wrecking ball to the thing.
Right.
Sometimes you got to actually find a pathway out because taking the wrecking ball will hurt more people than you intend to hurt.
Hmm.
That's a real thing. And I think um, there's a balance to be struck there.
Right.
So I don't know.
No, but makes sense to me.
All right. So a good transition respects both the numbers and the human cost. And that's where the knowledge and wisdom lives, right? Knowledge plus empathy equals understanding.
Right.
Okay. So let's move on to number 10.
Okay, how to let go without burning everything down. Letting go does not always mean destruction. Sometimes it means narrowing your focus,
Mhm.
changing the offer, changing the role, changing the audience, pausing a projection or excuse me project, retiring an old identity, rebuilding the same thing with a different structure. Not every ending has to be dramatic.
Yes.
Sometimes the most mature move is a quiet transition, either in or out of said situation. The goal is not to prove how serious you are by destroying everything. The goal is to stop feeding what no longer feeds you.
Mhm.
I like that.
Have you ever met somebody? And I saw this with my adopted and foster kids. And sometimes I would even see it with staff when they were ready to transition. It was like, have you ever met somebody that just can't say goodbye and we'll see you later?
What do you mean?
Where they can't end an engagement or a relationship without absolutely burning all the bridges and destroying it and making it miserable for all the parties involved. They have to destroy the relationship before they leave it.
Oh, wow.
They got to burn it down. They have to create consternation. They have to make people have negative experiences, negative feelings, so that they can have negative feelings, so they feel comfortable walking away.
Hmm. You know what? Actually, I have seen that before. Not necessarily with myself and somebody else, but with somebody else and myself.
Hmm.
Like, which leaves you like wondering, like, why would you do that?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and now that makes me question any and everything that you and I have discussed. Because if you're willing to do this, what else are you willing to do?
right.
Or what else have you done that you gaslit me on? You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Oh, yeah, I get it.
I've told graduates, like from programs I've ran and everything, like it's okay just to say bye and we'll see you later. You do not have to destroy every single relationship in
Right.
this place before you walk out the door. And it wasn't just a kid thing. There are adults and everything where they felt like they had to burn it down in order to move ahead. And
Okay.
sometimes you do. Sometimes a bridge needs to be burnt. You got to throw the match.
Got it.
Um, but um, you got to be real strategic in that. And not every good relationship that you're involved in, not every good positive interaction that you're involved in requires the complete and total crash out, burn it all down, all that other stuff that people do. Sometimes
Okay.
you can just say goodbye and move on.
Okay.
Well, let's part company and we'll see you later on. Some people don't a lot there are adults that don't know how to do it. It's not just a kid thing. There are adults that do not know how to just move on. It's got
Right.
to be a big dramatic falling out, burn, accusations spewing. Everybody has bad feelings behind it and all the other stuff.
Hmm.
And it's a tough thing to see, but it comes from that fear of actually transitioning into something new because they're scared that old thing is going to call them back.
Right.
See it with bad
Okay.
relationships all the time. If
Right.
I if I don't destroy the relationship, people are like, if I do not destroy this relationship, I may be tempted to return to it, as opposed to this thing has ended and run its course and I'm ready to move ahead. This thing could still exist, but that doesn't mean I need to go back to it. I don't need to go back to the
Right.
safety of it. So
Okay.
that's what it is. All
All
right.
right. Number 11.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Okay. The fear of being seen starting over. Starting over publicly is hard. And
Mhm.
ladies and gentlemen, I am a prime example of that. People may think that you fail, that you are inconsistent, that you do not know what you're doing. You are chasing just another dream or idea.
Mhm.
That fear is usually what keeps a lot of people stuck from moving on from a past failure or experience. Everybody is revising their lives constantly.
Mhm.
Some people do it privately or quietly. Some people are rambunctious and loquacious about it.
Mhm.
It happens. Starting over is not proof you are wrong. Sometimes it is the proof that you are paying attention. So, um, and that makes a lot of sense too, because if you look at Viagra,
Mhm.
right, it started off as a heart medication, which it does affect the heart,
Mhm.
just not in the same way that they thought
Right.
it was, right? So, how do they know that? Where do they find that out at? At the
Test it.
penitentiary,
Yeah. Okay.
where they were testing it. So, did it affect their hearts? Of course it did. Their hearts start pumping, and everybody got erections.
Yeah.
So, so did they fail? No.
Mm-mm.
They switched their focus from heart medication to a dick pill.
Mhm.
Cool. That works. Right? So again, it doesn't necessarily mean that they failed. It's that their hypothesis didn't work out when they tested it.
Mhm.
And they got back the results. And it wasn't based on what they thought it would be. It
Yeah.
was based on something totally different. Um, Pavlov's dogs or whatever, right?
Mhm.
About the response thing. He was eating. He wasn't even studying. He wasn't even studying or looking after their saliva stuff. That came. That came after he was looking for something else. He just so happened to notice it
Mhm.
while he was working on something else. He found all that out by accident.
Well, and it's like sometimes, like you were saying, it's not it may not be, it wasn't the fact that you were wrong. You're just not driving the right vehicle for your success. This thing is
That's
not the
it.
right vehicle. You
Yeah,
know,
and your focus is totally different or off from where you were to where you are.
you know, we got to get in the, yeah, you're looking at the wrong thing. We got to repackage what success actually looks like. And that's what Viagra did. Um, there's a point I wanted to extract from here. So starting over publicly is hard. There's one reason why, because oftentimes your initial start was public. You start this big, huge, hairy, audacious goal, build all the goodwill behind it, go out there and try to execute the thing, and you feel like all eyes are on you when it doesn't work. And the reality is, the eyes that are on you are the people that were rooting for you to fail in the first place. That's who's
Yeah,
watching.
I mean, look at Gamecast. Look at um, Atari.
Mm-hmm.
Look at some of these other companies that had to downshift and pivot from what they were doing to something new now.
Right.
Back in the day, Circuit City was killing it. You don't find them no more.
Mm-mm.
Back in the day, Blockbuster had one. They had like 90 some percent of the market.
Mm-hmm.
90 some percent. Now you don't see the ass. You won't find one.
No, I think there's like
Right?
one in Alaska, and that's because Alaska has its own own way of how it operates, and I think that one may not even be open anymore. But sometimes it's just finding the right vehicle for you to be successful. And like I said, the people that are sitting there watching you that are going to have the most criticism are the people that are sitting there rooting for you to fail in the first place. They wanted to see
Yeah,
on your face, and since they don't have anything going on in their world, they have plenty of time to watch what you're doing.
that's it.
And
I mean,
so
and that happens. You know, it happens.
it's a real thing, and it's not necessarily bad, but people are scared to make that admission in public. Like, yeah, I pursued this career 100%. This career no longer serves me. Like Chris said, people do a lot of things that don't make sense. That's just human nature. We're really,
Or it makes sense to them,
yeah,
maybe not you, but it's not supposed to make sense to you
yeah.
because it's not your thing.
We're really bad at explaining ourselves to ourselves, oftentimes. So let's go ahead and pivot. Last part here. A couple of questions for us. Um, yeah. So I'll take what's something you kept doing longer than you should have because it used to make sense. Probably case management. Doing case
Um,
management for me, it was case management.
yeah, I would say for myself, um, well, a couple different things. Smoking
Hmm.
was one, and working at Airlight Plastic.
Okay.
I got fucking hated it.
Well,
Not
and
it, like, yeah,
okay. Well, and for me, it was one of those things where I had known it. It was a decision I pivoted into, and it was really hard for me to say you made a bad choice with this one. Even though I got a lesson from it and I learned some important things that helped me move on to the next part of my career, um, it set us behind just because it wasn't paying the same, and there was no support, and you were almost set up to fail from walking in the door. And so yeah, it didn't work out right. And so I stuck with it longer than I should have. Even though I was constantly looking for an exit, I could have. That was something at the time I was in a place where I probably could have just walked away without having to have something else on the table immediately.
got it.
Okay. So, how do you know when something no longer serves you? I think we talked about this a little bit
Yeah, we
earlier.
did.
Okay. Anything to add to it, or do we want to just move on to the next one?
No, move on to the next one.
Okay. What's harder for you, starting something new or letting something old die?
Letting old stuff die.
Yeah.
Because starting some news, that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Letting old stuff die is a bit difficult.
That's the same for me. Letting the old stuff go letting go of it is always been harder.
Yep,
Have you ever stayed loyal to an old version of yourself?
yep.
Yes. um, define myself by one thing that didn't define me anymore. It's no longer who I had to be, and I had to give myself permission to no longer be that version of me.
Hmm.
But the problem is, here's the crazy part. Um, Sometimes when you interact with people that have known you, they want the old version of you because that's the version of you they feel most comfortable with, even if that version of you no longer serves what you're trying to do.
Right.
And they will almost demand it of you. And then at
Yeah,
that point, you have to decide, does this engagement with them still serve me?
yeah.
Um,
What's the next one?
what does starting over look like when you still have responsibilities?
You still got responsibilities. It doesn't matter.
Hmm.
You start over from where you are.
Yeah, you find new responsibilities. You replace the old ones with new ones, and make sure that you try to your best to make sure nobody is harmed in the process.
Yeah.
but that's somebody's always going to be, they may not materially be harmed, but you may hurt somebody's feelings and you have to weigh that out, which sometimes is a necessary step. All right. How do you reorient yourself when the old plan stops working?
Pivot, reframe,
Yeah.
change
First
your
step
perspective.
first step is admitting what I'm doing isn't working.
Yeah,
That's the harder part for me
yeah,
because I try to
I
optimize
agree.
it.
I agree. So work off like this isn't working, and then reverse it. Go left, go right, go up, go down, in and out. Figure out whatever you need to do to stop doing the same thing and try something different.
Hmm. And what have you learned through trial and error about letting go? Don't hold on too long. You can't micromanage everybody's experience with the transition. So best you can do is try to minimize the harm, but understand that you're not going to control all aspects of how people react to the thing.
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, we can barely afford and focus on ourselves,
Okay.
let alone trying to focus on other people.
So we're going to leave the audience with some questions and then go ahead and sign off here.
Yeah,
All right. So for you guys out there, and you don't have to answer them now, but if you see this, go ahead and drop them in the chat, in the comments or whatnot. What is something that you need to something you need to release, but you keep carrying? That's one. Two, have you ever outgrown a goal that you once wanted badly? Ooh.
yes, yes.
Three, what version of yourself are you still trying to maintain? Four, what would starting over look like if you didn't have to explain it to everybody?
Mm.
And five, what is one thing you could stop feeding this year?
Yeah, that's like mentally, emotionally, spiritually, hell, even financially. What's the one thing you could stop feeding or stop giving oxygen to?
Yeah. So, in closing, we'll say, starting over is not always a failure.
Oh,
Sometimes it's a correction. Sometimes it's maturity. Right.
sometimes it's the result of finally telling yourself the truth, being honest with yourself. Like, man, this sucks.
Mm-hmm.
It's either A, I have to do this, or B, I would always say find somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's always somebody who's willing to do what you're not.
Yep. It's about learning what doesn't work for you, and I think that's the biggest piece. Sometimes the bravest decision in business, life, personal is just admitting this thing served me once, but it no longer serves me,
Right.
and then making the clean break and moving on.
So,
So, we do appreciate you guys tuning in. If you got any answers to those questions that we just asked, go ahead and drop them in the chat.
yeah, feel
Um,
free, man.
yep. Again, we'll catch you guys. I may have to. I'll talk to Fearless off air, but we'll catch you. You're probably gonna start seeing these popping up on Spotify and stuff. I'm editing them down for content and stuff. But if you like the show, follow. If this resonates with you, share it. If this can help somebody, share it with them, and
Mm,
maybe even sit down and watch it with them. But that's all I got, guys. I will talk to y'all later. This has been Bryon.
fearless.
Talk to y'all later. Peace.